right on the way home from Orlando Border Town Burnt campaign. Week. I don't know what week it is. I think it's week 5. I'm 80% sure it's week 5. I missed a day and I played a couple catch-up games. Told you about that last time. But today, only got 2 games in. As it turns out, as this campaign gets deeper, the war bands get larger. They get more complicated. Plus, we've all got pretty good at these random encounters happening. So the games are taking a little longer. So only got 2 in today. So I think I'm still only a couple behind. Because now we're actually going to be shifting to just 2 games per campaign day. Which will be fine, because like I said, they're taking more time now, so 3 games is kind of pushing. At any rate, my first game, I obviously know I'm not challenging anybody. But my first game, Maverick called me out. He said, I want to fight Vivian. I said, all right, let's do it. And so at first I said, pick your board, and he picked my board, the terrain that I brought from home. And he's like, is that okay? And I was like, we'll play it if you really want to, but I mean, it's my terrain, so we usually the only terrain I'm playing. I was like, okay, we'll do a different one. I was like, okay, great. Well, how about this one? So there was another table, only one other table that was open that was a pirate ship. We didn't want to do that because Vivian on a pirate ship with no weapons is unfair. So we ended up playing on this table that didn't have any levels. It was all flat. It did have some catwalks between some of the rooms, but certainly not a significant amount. It was like 2 buildings, a height deployment. 4 buildings, 2 sets of 2 that had catwalks between them. So nothing really significant. And there was not a lot of terrain on this table. This table was basically like the leftover terrain from the sewer piled onto a table. And so it was really wide open. And Maverick plays Bretonians. So he's got a horse. He's got a guy on a horse with a lance. So he likes open terrain. He likes one level because he can't go in buildings. It's free buildings. Can't go buildings anywhere. Plus he has a lot of bowmen. Or I shouldn't say he had a lot of bowmen at the start of this game. So he's like, you sure? I was like, man, you challenge me. I'm gonna make it as easy as I can. I have lost 2 games straight, I've lost 3 games in a row. So who knows? This might not go as well as I hope. So I set up first. I choose the side and set up first, and I choose the side that is the most overwatches over the center of the board, so that he can't put up a bunch of archers there. We're playing the scenario, the crater, and so in the middle of the board, there's no terrain. It's a big crater. In our case, we actually has like a platform like that you find in like a center. So that served as our crater, and there was nothing around it for like a 16-inch radius. And it had, I think, all of 4 weirds done in it. And in the crater scenario, you actually have to spend a turn digging in the crater to get weird stone. Only heroes can dig, and you have to start your turn within an inch of the crater. So when you get to the crater, you still have to then wait there a whole turn before you even get a stone. And you're in the middle of no man's land, which, facing a lot of bowmen, that did not sound like a fun plan. So I came up with an alternative plan. My plan was to move my zombies up the middle because they're target, they're fodder. And then move my vampire and half my dregs and ghouls on one flank, and then my direwolf and the other dregs and ghouls on the other flank. I also have a witch now, so witch is going to stay close to the vampire in case she gets an opportunity to heal a wound. We'll talk about that later. She's never going to get an opportunity to heal a wound. Short story. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm going to just rob these flanks because there's no way I'm going to control the middle with all those bowmen. run up the flanks, let him get to the middle because he's going to try to get the objective. He's going to try to get a weird side. And then hopefully I can get some charges off. And, I knew I had to do some hot. So I did some up the sides, made my progress a little slow. But it kept me safe from all the bowmen. Bowmen were very successful in their hits. They were not as successful with their wound rolls, luckily. He did take out, I had one drag that was, sort of in front of the others, and he took that drag out. And then managed to get a shot off at the necromancer. I had them out of position longer. A little nerve-wracking, but overall, we weathered that one round of, serious fire palace. And then I, using Vivian's 18-inch run, I managed to get up in a building on his rear quarter where his bowmen were. And I got up in this building. I was out of line of sight from his guys, so I was safe. So the next turn, I managed to get, very second turn, Maverick goes first. And he gets a random, we get a swarm of rats. So the swarm of rats, they appear on Sable Edge, and they move straight until down across the street. And whenever they find a turn, you randomize the direction they go, and they do 2d6 high. And so they, they ended up running a big circle around the building. They never anybody else. But they ran a big circle around a building and then ran off the board. So they were an uneventful random encounter. But I'm trying to pay attention to where I'm going here. All right, I figured it out. So, where was that? Shoot. Oh, the rats ran a circle. Vivian's in position. I move out. Bowman gets some shots off, but my direwolf got the 18-inch charge also. He managed to pull up on the knight. So he had not a knight, but he's got a young one on a horse with a lance. The direwolf got shot at and knocked down. So when she split up turn 2, she couldn't charge. It still had 9-inch move. So she moved right up in front of one of his guys. And the zombies managed to charge into a couple of his guys, which is really what made this whole thing go the way it went. Those zombies tied up, I think, 3 or 4 of his guys, which gave my ghouls time to move up a bit and get their charges off the next turn 3, I think it was. So nobody really dies. Horse guy charges. The direwolf whiffs, and he's got like a 2+ armor save because he's got happy armor. He's mounted, or maybe it's 3+. And he's just get it out. That lance hits like a brick troop house if it hits, and he hit. I think he rolled 1 to wound. That saved me. That direwolf stayed in that game, in that fight, for quite a long time. And so ultimately, we're getting taken out. Turn 3, that particular turn, I got a little nervous because all of my charges, I didn't get the kills on anybody really. And he ended up taking out, I think 4 of my guys. Took out the zombies, which, that's expected. He also took out the Sister with Silver zombie that had night actually modeled, which, was sad. And then he took the direwolf out. And so, I was down 4 guys at the end of turn. I think we came to turn 2. So I was a little nervous. But, Vivian managed to get a charge off in 2 of the archers. The other archers, they didn't really have much of an option since they couldn't shoot at her. They had the chargers. And then one of his champions also charged me. They ended up, one of the archers got a crit with a dagger and managed to cause a wound. But ultimately, Vivian got some support from a ghoul. She got support from uh, somebody else. I think it might have been the rat zombie, the scavenged zombie, which the scavenged zombie was like in chorus the game. Multiple turns in the middle with the halfling cook, who Maverick had modeled as himself. So it's Maverick and the halfling cook is really funny. And then one of his champions, uh, who was really tough to put down. See that Skaven with that initiative was very helpful, but I just could not hit. And it's got a halberd. One is having that where you're hit. You only need a 2 wound, but I just had a lot of trouble hitting. Kept rolling ones. My vampire ultimately, after she got that support, he ended up taking out a whole mess of his guy. I mean, there's one point where she was base to base with a guy who was knocked down and 2 stun guys. She just executed all 3 of them. Then we've got the horse got killed. Ultimately got charged by a ghoul. So in combat with a ghoul and the dark, too much. And the cowboy died. And then we just went back and forth in the middle with all these combats. I mean, it was sort of a trickle in. It was a pile in. And there was a lot of combat just where people would not go down. And ultimately, I think it ended up turn 5. I would just sort of wipe them out. And you rolled, do a bottle test. And he failed it. He said he was going to bottle either way, probably. But the dice made the decision not his to make it. So, Vivian wins. She gets a ton of experience. I'm pretty sure she got like 6 experience points that game. Winning, surviving, and then the 4 kills. But I lost my Sisters of Sigmar zombie. That's sad. Didn't get a chance to model her. I also lost a regular zombie. Everybody else survived, but the 2 dregs got injured. One took a leg wound that took him out for an arm wound, which took him out for he missed the next game, and the other one took a hand injury, a weapon skill too. Remember, these are 2 brand new brain. Because like other dregs had all those advances. They both got killed by Zane's people. So branded drag, weapon skill 1, and the other one leg injury. And that leg injury makes him miss the next game. However, I got the final advancement tick for one of my ghoul groups, and then I got the second advancement from the brand new ghouls. So the first advancement boss, I should say, too, brand. And I got Lads Got Talent on both of them. So first Lads Got Talent of the entire campaign, and I get it twice with gold. And ghoul heroes are the best. I just lost that drag. Or that drag just got a hand injury, so I just missed that drag, and I had the empty hero slot. So I had 2 new ghoul heroes. Very exciting. One of them advanced and got I want to say it was weapon skill or initiative. One of the two. Either way is a good thing for a duel. But the other one got a skill. So now I've got to go with spring. So I've got a goal that at least help keep up with these direwolf and all vampire. To an extent anyway. So great game. Exploration was nothing fancy. I got a straggler again, though, so I lost the zombie to my zombie group. He gained another one to replace him for free. Losing the Sigmarine novice, gave me a little some more space in the warband. No more dramatic business. I had too many and they're slowing me down a little bit. So I'm just gonna keep the 3 that I have. I've got the Skaven still, the engineer at it, and I've got 2 regular zombies, and that's fine for now.
It's funny, Maverick. A couple henchmen died. The true Ballman died permanently, but he also had two of his heroes, including the mounted hero with the lance, end up getting sold to the pits. So his first guy, his crummy guy, manages to beat the pit fire. So he gets an extra 2 experience, keeps all his equipment, and he gets 50 gold from the Warman. That's awesome. Big success. Now his mounted young plug with the lance is not there as well and gets taken out by the pit fighter. Luckily, he doesn't have lasting injuries, but he does lose all of his equipment. And survives, but loses his equipment. Right, his equipment was pretty expensive. Apparently, lances are not cheap. Um, but I think they said he got to keep his horse, so that's not so bad. Um, but still, it was tough. Probably a tough loss for Maverick financially, I should say. Um, so then the next game, I face off against Kevin. So this is my first Scourge. I think my first Scourge on Scourge battle. He was playing the Org Mob. Org Mob is such a great war band. It was one of my original war bands. Was the first one was Undead, second one was Orc Mob. Love the Fanatics. He had one. I'm so excited to see that thing come out. It never did. Spoiler alert. Very sad. We ended up rolling that a weird scenario. It's like Explore and Enterprise or something like that. Basically, the war bands have to question and then torture the all of the villagers in all of the houses in the area. So I think we had like 7 buildings on the board. We didn't count the buildings starting in our deployment. And each one of them has to be searched. The rules are a little convoluted. We weren't clear on whether each warband had to search every building before it ended, because it's in can't vote fairly rough, or if just all the buildings had to be searched at least once and then it ended. You couldn't really tell. Either way, Kevin was on a bit of a time crunch, so I suggested we do just collectively all the buildings have to be searched at least once in game. So that ended up hurting me because I was in one of the buildings to be searched and was in close combat when Kevin's leader ended up searching or interrogating the last house, which then ended the game. So I didn't get a chance to search, and I lost by 1 point. So points, it's information points, basically. So when you interrogate, it's a pretty cool mechanic. It took a while to get used to, but once we got used to it, it was pretty easy. So when a hero starts their turn next to the opening to a building, cave-in wall section, window, or a door, that first turn they take a leadership test, and for every integer that they beat their leadership by, so they pass their leadership test by, that gives them 1 information point. So for example, my vampire has a leadership of 10. Roll leadership test. I rolled a 3, which is awesome. So that means 7 points. I get 7 information for it. However, there's a little modifier to that you are not human, dwarf, or elf. You get a +1 to your roll. So instead of 7 information points, I got 6. But either way, 6 points is an awesome start. Super strong. Sure enough, Maverick has a very similar result for his verse. So we both start with 6. And the last time I played this game, it was with Ruben, I think the first campaign league, and I lost that game. And I got like no information.
So once you've interrogated some villagers, you have the option to go into the building, because you can then torture them. Because you get some information when you interrogate them, and then when you start hurting them, they give you a little bit more. That's the idea. Harder to get more points on the torture side because it's a strength test, and it's the same thing. Every point that you beat your strength test by is an information point earned. There's an advantage to this one if you're a creature that causes fear. So whereas the vampire gets a +1 to their leadership test for information gathering, she gets a -1 to her strength test because she causes fear. She's very scary, so she's more effective at torturing and scaring people. So used her to do that. Her and the direwolf were on the far left flank, and it was an elevated. There was a huge elevated section on the back corner of the board, and Kevin had a goblin, a crossbowman in the building, which was like a huge tower, and he caused me a lot of grief, and then a hero orc behind the goblin. So I had my vampire and my direwolf searching that building, so they were out of line of sight. But eventually they came out and they just stayed hidden right there. So they had line of sight. So the hope was next turn I'd be able to charge them freely with my 18-inch charge. The necromancer, the dreg with the sword of the broadsword of the damned, and a couple ghouls, including one of the new ghoul heroes, Boner. He's got a huge bone in his hands, two-handed bone. It was like a giant femur. Hence the name. They ran up the middle, along with the witch. So a bunch of the goblins and the orc shaman, the shaman is scary. It's got the Clubba spell, which is only difficulty 7, I think. And it gives him a club, a one-handed club, that is, I think it's +1 strength and +1 attack. Cool thing is, it doesn't go away until he receives a wound. So he can actually cast it twice and end up with 2. And because he already had 2 attacks base, he would get a 3rd attack for dual wielding. And he would get an additional attack from one Clubba, and then another additional attack for the other Clubba for 5 total attacks. And he was strength 4. And all those attacks would be +1. So 5 attacks at strength 5. That was very scary. So what it did was, he came right up the middle and searched one of the buildings there. I put my necromancer in the building across the street. And I put my necromancer right up against the wall, because he didn't need line of sight to do his lifesteal. Sure enough, he was almost exactly 6 inches away from the shaman. Now, lifesteal, I'm sure I've mentioned it, it's difficulty 10 spell, so it's a very tough spell to pass, but if you pass the check, it just causes a wound. Just causes a wound. No save, unless you got some kind of a magic save. Just gone. 1 wound gone. Now, it's a strong spell, but it's a high difficulty, but I have invested a lot into this particular spell because I picked, I ended up rolling this spell pretty early in the campaign, and I found it very difficult to use because it's only a 6-inch range, and it's difficulty 10. So I gotta be right up danger close, which I usually don't want my necromancer being that close. But he's got the scribe spell, which means he makes a scroll before every game, which gives him +2 to any spell check 1 time during the game. He also has sorcery, which is +1. On top of that, +2. And he's got a familiar, which allows him to re-roll a failed cast. So the first time I shoot this bad boy off, I just need a 7, and I get to re-roll it. So it makes that already somewhat strong spell very powerful. So sure enough, I'm 6 inches away. I roll an 8 or 9, and I pass the test. Actually, I think I roll a 10. Now I think about it. Take the wound from the shaman. Roll a 5. Boom. Just like that. Out of action. And that was a scary prospect for him, but a very good result for me because that guy was super dangerous. So on the other flank, on the right flank, I had my cool hero with sprint, and the others regular zombie, the scavenged zombie, and then a couple of just regular ghouls. I split up my henchman groups, by the way. I've got one on one side, the other on the other. So excuse me. The cool hero is sprint. Obviously gets into the building that's in the middle, almost more on Kevin's side. He gets in there turn 2 and does his searching, gets a few points. Does his torturing, gets a few points. Actually, no, he didn't get any points.
So he claims to confirm this was week 6. So this is week 6 of the Orlando Porter John Purdy campaign. So he searches that building. He gets a few points for warband, but he doesn't get any for his torture test. The other ghoul and hides up there in one of the rooms, and another ghoul runs to the building, and that one runs behind the building. And he's coming through this kind of hallway between 2-room buildings where I've got all my ghouls kind of stacked in and hidden, some hidden in. He's got his fanatic at the opening, and he's got a couple of other guys, a couple of orcs back there, and a couple other regular goblins. So I'm expecting this fanatic to come through, just start whirling, and I'm hoping I'm going to get some charges off. But I did not realize there was a window in the building that I ran into. So instead, he actually charged me with a couple of orc boys. Well, one charged, the other one wouldn't reach, so he just ran in, right up just short of me. I didn't expect that. He managed to stun the ghoul, or knock down the ghoul, but not kill him. So that was okay. And then at that point, they were close enough to where I could charge with both the scavenged and one of the ghouls behind the building. If they're out of line of sight, but within 4 inches. So I did my initiative test, passed it with the ghoul, because it was one of the ghouls that actually had an improved initiative, luckily. And I got both of them in there, and they, first of all, the Skaven buddy, with this halberd, he critted and did the kebab result, which pushes the opponent straight backwards d6 inches, and the model with the kebab follows. And I pushed him back 6 inches back into a wall. But we said he didn't get hit. He didn't get hit or hurt by the wall. It's the wording. It's a little weird. Where if you make contact with another model, that model takes a strength 3 hit. So just pushed him up against the wall and stunned him. But he actually saved his stun with his helmet. Because the kebab result ignores armor saves for the wound, we figured that it still would, a helmet save would still apply, and he made his helmet save. So instead of going stunned, he just got knocked down. The other ghoul managed to, I think she just took the blows from the orc and didn't die. And that was enough, because then my other ghouls stood back up, and the 2 of them were able to take out that particular orc. But not before he took one of them out. So he took one of those ghouls out, and the other ghoul managed to finish him off. And the Skaven zombie took out the other orc after kebabbering him. Kevin also had a troll. By the way, Kevin has, most of them are the original metal models, and they're just so beautiful. Some of them are older ones, and he did spend as much time painting them, I guess, when he was younger, probably, like most of those. But the ones that he obviously painted recently are beautiful. The troll is gorgeous, and it's that classic troll sculpt. Just so cool. His troll, he sent right up the middle. There was a nice big alley, but that troll kept failing the leadership test and kept rolling stupid and just ambling forward 2 inches. And this was a quick game. I think we only made it to turn 4, and I had, just before it ended, I had the close combat phase of all close combat phases. At one point I had to roll 4 dice. I rolled 4 6s. I then had to roll 4 more dice, and I rolled 3 6s and a 2 or something. I mean, it was 7 6s, just boom, right there. And I just kept doing that. I was rolling nonstop crits, like what would be multiple crits, but you only crit once. And I took out, I think it was 4 or 5 guys. Granted, a bunch of them were goblins, so he didn't have to take a route test, because goblins only count and or mob, they only count for half when it comes to route tests. Coolest thing that happened was my Vivian Direwolf Wolfie tandem plan on the left flank worked a treat. So my Direwolf charged the goblin that was sort of guarding point, and the crossbowman that was in the watchtower just across a little gap from that point where the goblin was. I figured, you know what? I'm going to charge him. I have to try to leap that gap. I have to hope that gap is 3 inches, first of all. I have to have enough range, which I did, because it's 18 inches charge ox. And I had to pass my initiative test. Now, this particular fall would have been a 6-inch fall. Well, if you recall, the rules for falling is D3 strength equal to height rounded up inches hits with no armor save allowed. So I would have taken D3 strength 6 hits with no armor save on Vivian. That was a big risk. And I wasn't sure it was 3 inches. Sure enough, it was like exactly 3 inches. So I managed to make the leap. I rolled a 4. I just needed to avoid rolling a 6. I had a lucky rabbit's foot, so I figured maybe there's a chance I could get that reroll and make it. Sure enough, made it. Chopped this orc up, but only stunned him. However, that means the orc fell. The orc fell, took 3 strength hits, strength 6 hits, and on the wound or on the injury rolls, he rolled, and he was already stunned. On the injury rolls, he rolled a 2, a 2, and a 6 or a 5. Either way, out of action. So Vivian just basically roughed him up and pushed him off the edge, and he fell and splatted to his death. It was amazing. The coolest scene in the game. Vivian's dog running ahead to grab the goblin from being able to intercept, and then Vivian just leaping over this gap, splicing this dude up and kicking him off the edge of a tower, going splat. That's what this game is about, my friends. That is what I love about Orna. Oh, and it would have been just as funny, if not twice as funny, if Vivian had failed her initiative to roll the 6 and then re-rolled another 6 and fallen to her demise. That also would have been hilarious. It has happened before. Really, really fun. And then, next day, after that, the orc boy that was up on that side still obviously the goblin got eaten. And this other orc with the crossbow died. And the other orc that saw this happen was like, you know what? I'm gonna retreat a little bit. In fact, he retreated a little bit before Vivian and the dog got up there. He ran back first, because then at least he wouldn't be within 8 inches, so he could run again. I still could have gotten to him with the 18-inch charge for both the dog and Vivian, but the game ended before I had an opportunity to. That was certainly coming up next. I would have really liked to see that happen. But it is what it is. We agreed to end when the buildings had all been collectively searched, whether by me or him. And I was 1 point shy. And it just, it's one of those things. It just means even though he had some heavy losses, I lost 2 ghouls, and one of them died permanently. It's expensive. They're 40 gold a pop. He had some heavy losses. And the wind helped him at least not get totally rocked from like an exploration standpoint too. At this point, I did realize I rolled 1 too few dice for my first exploration phase of the day. I forgot the +1 for fully painted warband. Kind of a shame, but it is what it is. It happens. What else? Oh, there was another cool thing too. So Boner was in the bottom of the building to be searched, and he took a crossbow shot, and luckily the crossbow it did hit, but it failed to load. I didn't think he could be seen, but sure enough, he could. But then 2 goblins, there were 3 goblins up there. One of them wanted to do a diving charge, but he was too afraid, so he couldn't. So the other 2 just moved into the building, and they stood above the ghoul
where there's like a trap door at this building. It's like a big tall watchtower with a trap door in the middle. And the two goblins basically went alongside the edge of the trap door and both took shots down at the ghoul. And luckily did not wound him. So next turn, Boner jumped up to the top of the building, or the floor above, killed one of the goblins. The necromancer stunned the other goblin with another life steal. So the necromancer had 3 wounds. It's king, because every time you successfully cast that spell, the necromancer actually gains a wound. So he had 3 wounds. He was tough. But because of that, because those goblins ran point on that ghoul, the ghoul hero was not able to search or interrogate. So because of that, that might have been the difference. Obviously there's no guarantee of passing the strength test, let alone passing it by enough to get a point. Same with leadership. Leadership was crummy as ghouls. So, no guarantee I would have gotten more points, but there was a chance there. It just was missed. Thanks to those goblins. So those 2 goblins basically helped him get the win, ultimately. Which is thematic and fun. I love that. Overall, like I said, he won. It was great. It was a great game. Lots of fun. I got decent exploration. I ended up with a Mordheim map, but only rolled a 3, so I get a reroll next exploration phase. I've been trying to get these rarity rolls so I can get the Skadan longsword. I didn't make any rarity. All my rarity rolls were, the highest was like an 8. Which would have been enough for a riding horse for the dreg that has the broadsword, but I really want a war horse. Just I feel like that's more thematic for a chaos sword wielding nutcase. I think that'd be way cooler. So rather than a horse, I want to get the war horse. Oh yeah, speaking of him, so first game, chaos artifacts, broadsword of the damned carrying dreg. He's the one that I gave the witch's potion to. So the very first potion of my witchdom is, and I roll a 1, which means he lost a toughness. So the whole game, he's just cowering in a building, trying to roll a 6 in the recovery phase, while his toughness is low. And sure enough, I didn't roll a 6 until basically the last turn. He ran out of his building, and that's all he did. He just ran out of the building. Couldn't get into combat or do anything else. Second game, I was pretty sure he was out of line of sight of the crossbows, but I was mistaken again, and he got hit, and he lost the wound. Luckily, he's got 2 wounds, but when he's down to 1 wound, I'm not planning on doing any fuck you stuff with it. And I had Cure available with my witch, who was next to him. My witch was always using Scry to get the D3 rerolls for whomever I thought needed it. Ironically enough, the witch failed Scry one time. It's a 6-up to pass on 2d6. And every time that she did pass it, I gave the rerolls to somebody who didn't ultimately end up beating them. So they were pretty wasted. I could have maybe healed the drag, but he still wouldn't have been able to get into combat by the time before the game ended anyway. Arrow is too far out. This is a big court, pretty big, widespread court, lots of terrain, and a short game. So, note about Cure on the Witch. Again, that one's a higher cast difficulty, I take. But I don't think it's hard by any stretch of the imagination. I want to say that it's a 6 or a 7, maybe. It's not difficult. And when you cast it, every friendly model within 6 inches of the witch regains a single lost wound and immediately stands up if they were stunned or knocked down. This sounds like an awesome spell, right? The idea being you keep your witch kind of just behind a line of really important fighters, and when they charge in and get into close combat, if it doesn't work out your way, your witch could cast that. Oh, they're back up and ready to go, and maybe you're not as rough shape as you had thought. The problem is, the witch has a special rule
which says that she's skittish, and she does not want to fight. So she must always stay at least 8 inches away from NED models. So with a range of 6 on a spell, but the requirement that you stay at least 8 inches away from enemy models, that means you cannot cast this spell on your guys that are in close combat. Because that means there's an enemy, and if you're within 6 inches, you're certainly within 8 inches. And that's not gonna fly. You gotta be out of 8 inches. I could obviously see scenarios where maybe you get flanked, or maybe the actual scenario itself because you're starting in the middle and there's no way to stay to get 8 inches away, and then maybe you could use it, but that's obviously very specific. In other words, this particular spell is practically useless unless you're facing somebody with a decent amount of range, because you could keep your witch towards the back line, or anybody that might get into range danger, and if that happens, you might be able to make them stand back up and recover their wound. I don't know. Seems a little silly to not be able to use it in close combat. Then again, being able to use that with guys in close combat would be really strong, and the witch is already super strong. By the way, she made up for the first shitty potion, which made my guy lose a toughness, by making a potion that I rolled a 6 on, which gains a wound. So I gave the extra wound to Vivian. Just because I figured, why not? Keep her a little extra safe, even though I didn't expect her to really get in much danger despite it was so spread out. And at the end of the day, she did not need it. She never took a single wound. I don't even think she was ever hit with anything. Okay, so exploration was again pretty average. But I found the fake Orheim map, so that's fun. Overall, again, awesome campaign day. So many guys showed up that all the tables were full. It was really cool to see. Pretty much everybody came out. And yeah, we had a great time. A couple of new faces too. One guy who hadn't actually played before was able to get in the game with Glenn. He gave him like a kind of a tester game, so that's pretty cool. We'll be back at some point. And yeah, sounds like a lot of fun was had by all, as usual. Fortunately, again, I'm gonna miss the next week. September 13th, week 7. I'm gonna miss it, so I'm gonna have to figure something out with makeup games, hopefully. Yeah, that's about it. It was a great day, great game, good games. Talk to you next time.